Welcome back, guys. Elysian Castaic here, and we are continuing with our little blade here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up some basic materials just to add a little bit of color to your object here, if you want to do a quick render type thing. And then I'm going to show you how to set up the edges and do some UV unwrapping, just some basic stuff to be able to get some basic textures on here. And we're going to attempt to do a bake of the materials that we apply to our texture file. So let's go ahead and first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and select this item here. We are already in our material tab over here. Click new, and you'll see that that actually changed the color here. But if you want to see an even more drastic change, come down here, and it's automatically on solid. Let's go ahead and go to material, and you'll see that everything has become white. Okay, so we're going to give this just a basic bit of a gray, because it is the blade. Our cross guard, we're going to give that a new material, and we're going to give this a bit more of a kind of a golden bronze color. Let's go ahead and give our handle a bit of a brownish. If we bring that down a bit, that looks pretty good. I like that. And then for our pommel, I'm going to go ahead and just click here and make that the exact same as the brass or the crossguard. So already that's looking a lot better. It has a lot more color than it originally did, and you could actually go ahead, if you hit Control-Alt-0, you adjust the camera to be able to get your sword into view. And if you're like me, sometimes you just kind of want to adjust your camera just a little bit like that. 720 by 720 is a decent size. We just come in like this, get it in focus. I'm going to go ahead and drop my samples down. We're just going to do 25 for right now. Let's go ahead and turn on ambient occlusion. This gives it so that there's light all around the object. I'm going to go ahead and in the film tab here in the render settings, I'm going to go ahead and turn on transparency. I'm going to bump these up to 256 by 256 because this should be a very quick render, and I'm going to hit F12. And bam, look at that. We have the start of our sword. Not bad actually for something low poly. This could go straight into a game like the old version of RuneScape. Used to have weapons like this. It was pretty cool. But we want to go a step further than this. We want to go ahead and make this weapon. We want to be able to texture it and add some unique designs to it if we can. That's what we're going to be attempting next video when we do texture painting. Now granted, I am not very good at the texture painting, and with one hand it might be impossible, but we're going to try it anyway. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to, before I forget, turn on my screencast keys again. And if you're wondering, this is an add-on that was removed from Blender. You actually have to find a download to it. If I remember, I will go ahead and put that up on Google Drive and leave a link in the description. If I remember. If I don't, leave a comment, remind me, maybe I'll stick it up later. So we're going to go ahead and hit on our numpad and hit slash so that we can focus just on the blade again. And what we're going to do, we want the texture for this blade to be the same on both sides. Some models later on down the line, maybe you want something different on either side. You could still use this basic process for getting the job done. Go into edit mode, click on edges, and we're going to go ahead and select all of these edges here. We're going to leave the ones in the middle alone. Okay? Control E. This brings up this edges menu. We want to mark seam, and if we deselect everything, you can see that those edges are now marked with red. That just means that it's a seam, and when you UV unwrap this, it will have a face. So we're going to go ahead and split this by clicking and holding on this and dragging across. Click here, UV image editor. We're going to go ahead and hit this X right here just to give a blank canvas. Over here, we're going to hit A to select all, and U. U brings up this UV mapping system, and we're just going to unwrap. And as you can see, these are the exact same. So what I want to try to do is I'm going to click here and then here to get face select mode. Select these faces here, and I want to try GX. I want to try and overlap them. I have to hold shift. It's getting a little bit GX. Let's try shift and then control. Can I get them to overlap? Might take a couple of tries. I really want these. That is pretty darn close. And the reason that I'm doing this is because if you can get them essentially perfectly aligned, pretty much like that, whatever you do for the texture on this will show up on both sides of the model. So we're going to go ahead and grab that. I want to drag it over a little bit like so. Let's go ahead and rotate it 45. And we're just going to drag it to about there. That looks good. Okay. So that is the first part done. Num/, that's kind of a nickname that I've given it, to bring all the other objects back. And we're going to go ahead and mark this one, num/ again, to go back into the view. Get our edge select mode going here. And this one is a little bit funky in a way, just because of the way it's shaped. And the way that we're going to do this is I'm actually going to go into vertex mode really quick, and I'm going to add a couple of extra edges here, just so that I can do this a little bit easier, just keep it in my own head a little easier. Like so. And like so. You can completely skip that. That's just for me, for symmetry's sake. It just looks a little better to me. Okay, so back into edge select. We are going to separate the top from the bottom. So we're just going to go ahead and select all of these edges like so. Control E, mark seam. And on the bottom, same thing. Like this, Control E, mark seam, and then we need to select these two on the outer sides, Control E, mark seam. Okay. Now we got that done. We're going to go ahead and bring up our UV image editor again. Go ahead and clear that. A, U, unwrap. And once again, we have these duplicates basically. So we're going to repeat the process that we did last time. We're going to go ahead and just grab all those, G, Y, Control Shift, drag it down. Okay. That looks pretty good. Let's just try and get it a little bit closer. There we go. That, maybe. Hold up. Let me use this edge over here. G, Y, Shift. Okay, so they don't seem to be, for whatever reason, they aren't exactly the same. But that's alright, it's close enough. And we're going to go ahead and just select all of these and drag them away from the other part really quick. So now we select these ones, G, Y, Control, Shift, drag them down. Okay, G, Y, Shift, like so. That is really close to being perfect. Alright, that looks pretty darn good to me. Okay, Now, these are a lot bigger than we need them to be, so we're going to go ahead and scale them down, and I'm going to select these ones again, bring them closer to each other. Since they're all going to be the same color, having them this close won't affect the final result too much. I'm going to go ahead and rotate 45. Actually, okay, for some reason my recording software decided to go a little bit wonky and cut out a whole bunch of the progress that I had just finished making. You can see that we have 3 parts joined together now. And if I hit tab, you'll see we have this here. Where I last left off, I was rotating this bit here, and I've lined them up. I joined the parts together, and I will show you how to do this. If we hit L and then Shift L, that's not working for some reason. Let's just go ahead and select these faces like so. Shift select, shoot. C, Shift select, delete, get rid of those. Go to the bottom here. Should be able to just Shift L. Oh, I see. You have to hold it. Don't bother holding Shift. Just hold L, or press L to select those. P and selection to disconnect them, and then all you got to do, Shift, select the rest of it, Control J, and you join the parts together. That's how I was able to do that. Now for the handle here, something that I did was, we're going to need to alter that. Something that I did here, if we go into edit mode, you'll see I removed the face here and I removed the face down here, and I added a seam along this edge here, and that just gave me that there, which I rotated, scaled a little bit to get it to where I wanted it to be. The reason that there's edges around the top here was I was originally planning on just keeping the faces there, but they aren't necessary. So we're going to go ahead and just ignore those, and we'll do numpad slash to bring back the rest, tab, Shift select, Control J, and we have the parts together. Now the pommel, I've already gone ahead and unwrapped it. You can see here that what I did was I removed this face, I scaled it down a little bit, I removed this face, and then I put a seam along one edge and around the entire bottom part, and that's how I got this here. Now I did have to do a little bit of finagling with the vertices to get all of these ones here nice and straight, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. It's just something that I did for the purpose of making everything look nice and straight. And I can see the reason I had to do that was everything is kind of not the same all the way around, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and we're going to now select all of these. We're going to rotate 45. Once again, my recording software is being a bit of a pain in the butt. I just realized what's happening. Every time I hit the minus key on the numpad, it tries to end the recording. So we're going to go ahead and scale this down, drag it down over here. Right there should be good. I'm going to go ahead and grab these because I know that the crossguard is about right here. We're going to drag this down over to about there. That should be good. Now Shift select, Control J to join, tab, and there we have it. So we can go ahead and, as you can see, we do have a bit of room to work with. Go ahead and select everything, scale it up, move it over, and these ones down here, if I just press Shift L on that, we should be able to deselect those. Drag that about right there. Bam, we're good. Okay. So, technical difficulties aside, we got our UVs set up for our sword. Short and simple. And what we're going to do now is we're going to try and bake these colors to our image. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead and make a new image. You can say sword textures for the name and hit OK for leaving it as a blank image. Now we have that. What we need to do now is I'm going to go ahead and change this view to the node editor. press N to get rid of that little thing there. And you don't actually have to add anything to, or connect anything, but you do have to add a texture, image, and then we're going to go ahead and select our sword textures. And I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to go to the materials, and I'm just going to paste that in to each of these different materials like so. And what that does is it tells Blender that there is a texture assigned to that material, whether or not it's actually doing anything. You can see it's in each of these, and it's assigned to sword textures. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure that ambient occlusion is on, and we're going to go over here to our render tab, scroll all the way down to bake, and you can see here we have combined. That's kind of important. I haven't been able to get this to work in any other way. We're going to select all of the text, all of the UVs, and we're going to go to our image again. And here, we're going to go ahead and click on bake. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording until this finishes, because it could take a little while. So I'll be back with you guys in a minute. Okay, that actually took a little less time than I had originally expected. But you can see here that we're getting some weird black lines. And right here, this black bit here, that is actually from the fact that the handle is inside of the crossguard. Now this is fine. For what we're doing here, this is okay. We can easily just go ahead and go over all of that and fix it up. So what we wanted to establish was a baseline for the colors, so we didn't have to bother with materials. So this is perfect for what we need. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go to image, save as image. I'm going to put this on my desktop as sword textures, and there we go. And what we can do now is we can test how this looks. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to look very good. By going to the materials tab and removing, oh, we're in edit mode. We have to get out of edit mode. We're going to remove all but one. And we're going to change this to an image texture, and we're going to put it at sword textures. And see that? It's using our textures. Now once again, we're having those issues with the black because of the handle and because we overlapped the top and the bottom together so that they share textures. This, I'm not sure why that happened. Except maybe that this is inside of the guard and it's casting it over the top of it there. Not entirely certain why that happened. Let's go ahead and, so if we were to rotate that by 180, hold on, 180, there we go. That sort of worked. Not quite entirely the way that I had planned. But again, that won't be a problem because we're just going to go ahead and remove that. Although I would like to know how that happened. Oh well, we'll figure it out later. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the short and simple version of how to get some basic textures on your model. Make sure your UVs are lined up properly if you're using mirrored textures and whatnot, because otherwise you'll get some wonky stuff going on like this. I'm not entirely certain what's going on here. I will try to figure it out. As a matter of fact, let's try selecting everything. It's a little late for that. One thing that you can do is you can apply your scale and your rotation to all your objects, and that could fix some of your UV issues. Although with the way that I have mine set up now, unfortunately it might force me to try to redo them, and I don't really want to do that at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and end it here. Make sure you guys save your file, and join me next time when we try to give these very simple textures a little bit more life. We're going to try and add on the crossguard. We're going to try to add some rivets on either side of the handle area, and we're going to go ahead and see about adding scratches and things to the blade, a little bit of detail to be able to define where certain parts of the sword are without actually having to look at them, which I think will be pretty handy. And we're going to do that with pretty much everything. So join me next time when we get into that. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.